Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm doing a Phantom Knight deck profile. So this deck is a really interesting and awesome deck that I know that a lot of you are more familiar with this deck being an engine rather than a deck on its own. But it actually functions very well on its own with so many different negates in this deck and being able to special summon big boss monsters extremely easily. Now, unfortunately on the previous list, we did lose the rank up magic spell that let us summon Dark Requiem XYZ Dragon, and that's really unfortunate. It was kind of a casualty due to Azathoth, but hey, this deck still works. It's really fun. It's actually really budget as well because you can pick up just the legendary duelists and be able to get the majority of the stuff for this. So let's get into this, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. Hit that bell and there's some become part of notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Ancient Cloak. So Ancient Cloak is one of the best cards in the deck that is usually used in the PK engine, but if this card's in attack position, you can target a dark monster on the field, change it to defense, or change this card to defense, and if you do, it gains 800 attack. Also, you can banish it from the graveyard once per turn to add a Phantom Knights card from your deck to your hand, which is really, really cool to be able to add additional Phantom Knights from your deck to your hand. Then we play 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. This one, if you control another Phantom Knight monster, you can special summon this card from your hand once per turn, and it has the ability that you can banish it from the graveyard to add a Phantom Knight monster, or add a Phantom Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is really cool as well because it lets you search Fogblade, which is basically Fiendish Chain for you guys who are older school players like me. Then we play 3 copies of the Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves, which is going to be the final main deck Phantom Knight monster. Then we play a couple of tech cards that are engines for the Phantom Knights. Kind of weird that it works the other way around for them. But basically, if a Dark XYZ monster is used or is summoned using this card, it gains 1000 attack, and you can banish it from your graveyard to send a Phantom Knight card from your deck to your hand, or from your deck to the graveyard. And then after you send it to the graveyard, you can banish them like the Fogblade and special summon Phantom Knights from your grave to get you additional link plays, additional link plays, additional XYZ summons, all sorts of stuff like that. Then I played 2 Kagamucha Knight. This one basically is a pseudo Phantom Knight monster. I really like being able to play this card because when you control a level 3 monster, you can special summon it from your hand, and this card cannot be used as synchro material, but we don't play synchro monsters in this deck anyways, so that's not that big of a deal to me. I'm not worried about that. Then I play 3 copies of Junk Ford. Junk Ford is a good card in this deck because if you control no monsters, you can special summon it, and it's a level 3 warrior monster, which can really help out being able to link summon into different stuff like your Cherubini, or one of your Borals, or even one of your Nightmares, because it has a different name, which is really, really cool as well. And I really enjoy the fact that you can do that with Junk Ford, and it's kind of like Cyber Dragon in a way. 2 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious. You need 2 copies of Destiny Hero Malicious in the deck because it still is a warrior deck, and it's really easy to send stuff to the graveyard in this deck by using different stuff like the Nightmares and, you know, Armageddon Knight and Dark Grepher, stuff like that, to get you additional play so you can link summon with it. 1 copy of Armageddon Knight. This card is just to send what you need to the graveyard when you need to. 1 copy of Dark Grepher. Dark Grepher is another one of those cards that it combos really well with Destiny Hero Malicious, but you're not really going to use it for anything besides the Malicious. Maybe use it for, you know, one of the Phantom Knights, but you're going to send a Malicious to the graveyard to special summon it, and that's the big thing that you're going to do to summon it. Then, because it is a DarkArmedDuelist deck, we're going to be playing 1 copy of Dark-Armed Dragon. You gotta have that 1 copy of Dark-Armed Dragon, because this deck is so easy to to manipulate the amount of cards that you have in your graveyard that are dark. It's really, really, really easy to do that in this deck, because you can banish all of these. Junk Ford doesn't count as a dark. And then the rest of them are not really that consequential anyways, because you can actually banish stuff, and it's really easy to. So that is a really awesome addition to this deck, and I'm really glad you can actually play Dark-Armed Dragon in this deck. And then for the hand traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom, which is a level 3, and you can utilize it when you need to, if you need to use a level 3, but usually you're just going to discard it to stop your opponent from doing things for additional negates. Then 2 copies of Effect Veiler as well. 2 copies of Effect Veiler are just here because you need that additional negate. This is like my go-to hand trap package, is 2 Effect Veilers and 3 Ash Blossoms. I find that to be the best ratio for hand traps, and it works for me. Depending on your deck, depends on what you play, but I find this to be the best ratio, and I put this in the majority of the decks that I'm going to carry into tournaments. So, that's it for the main deck monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Call by the Grave. We're not going to be playing that many spells in this deck, but you need 3 copies of Call by the Grave because you don't want your opponent to hand trap you, and you want to be able to hand trap them, so you just stop their hand trap so you can do all sorts of stuff on your turn, like banishing your stuff and, you know, banishing your Phantom Knights to add Fog Blades to your hand, because you want to get a setup on your side of the field with like 3 Fog Blades set and a hand trap or 2 in your hand, plus the Rusty Bardige and a maybe even a Breaksword if you can get there. I mean, it's really easy to get that setup. Then we play 1 copy of Monster Reborn, extremely good card in the deck and really good to have as a 1-of just to bring back stuff that you need. 1 copy of Rhoda because everything's a warrior in the deck pretty much. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness is the last 3 spells we're going to be playing because the majority of the stuff is dark. And that's what I was getting at about discarding stuff that gets kind of like bricky in your hand. If Malicious doesn't work out for you, you can just banish it with Allure of Darkness from your hand if you don't have that Dark Grepher, just to send it to the graveyard. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So the traps is where this deck really starts negating your opponent. So we're going to be playing 1 copy of the Shade. You need 1 copy of Shade. It's really easy to put this out. Like, you start with this card so you don't have a lot of traps in your graveyard, so you can immediately activate it, use this link material, overlay with it, you know, do what you got to do with it, and it just really helps out. Usually I use this for link material to summon the Phantom Knight Link monster. I'll have like 2 on the field and then make the, what's its name, Cherubini. I'll make Cherubini and then put this face down somehow if I draw into it, set it, and then immediately activate it, and then use this and the Rusty Bardige to link away, you know, to get him out, which is really easy to do. Then I play 1 copy of Phantom Knight's Wing. You just really need like 1 copy of it, to be honest with you. I probably wouldn't play more than 1. You get to target a face-up monster on the field that gains 500 attack, and also for the first time it would be destroyed by battle or by card effect. This turn is not destroyed. And you can banish from your graveyard, then target a Phantom Knight monster in your grave and special summon it. The cool thing is you can actually special summon the Link monster, which is really cool. And it has a side arrow, so you can special summon stuff beside it as well. Then I play 1 copy of the Phantom Knight's Mist Claws. I dropped it down to 1 because I wanted to play more hand traps in the deck and less, you know, trap cards. I felt like they were a little bit slow, but I wanted to have them here. So you get to target one of your banished Phantom Knight monsters and add it to your hand. And then when an opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card's in your grave, you can target a level 4 or lower Phantom Knight monster in your grave and special summon that monster. If you do, special summon this card as a normal monster. But the only thing that sucks about it is that it's a 0/0. And if it's summoned this way, banish it when it leaves the field. But that's not that big of a deal, because if they're going to, you know, attack you directly, it's good to just save yourself with Mist Claws. But the big thing that I like to do with Mist Claws is add back like Cloak or Boots to my hand so I can get additional searches. Then I play Double Sword. Sword is really good in this deck too because it lets a monster gain 800 attack points, which really can benefit your Phantom Knights a lot, because that can put your Rusty, the Link monster, up to 2900 and then swing at your opponent, which is really cool. And usually that's my target to put it on. And you can banish from your grave to target a Phantom Knight monster in your graveyard and special summon it, which is pretty cool. And then we play the best card, the best trap card in the entire deck, and that is 3 copies of Fog Blade. Fog Blade, you activate it by targeting face-up monster, and then negate its effects, and then that monster cannot attack. Also, monsters cannot target it for an attack, but that's not that big of a deal, because Rusty can get it off the field if you special summon out a Dark XYZ summon, or a Dark XYZ monster that it points to. And then the Breaksword also can pop the Fog Blade and then your opponent's monster as well. But basically this is just used for interruption. It's really easy actually to get it off the field. It's not that bad to get it off. So it's a really, really, really good card, and you have to play it in 3 of Phantom Knight. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So the extra deck's pretty easy. We play 2 copies. I play 2 copies of the Mech Knight Rusty. It's really a good card. Basically, during your main phase, you can send a Phantom Knight monster from your deck to the grave, and then you get to set a Phantom Knight spell or trap directly from your deck. And if a Dark XYZ monster is special summoned to a zone this card points to, you get to destroy 1 card on the field, which is really cool to be able to just target and just pop 1 card, and you're already plussing because you're getting a special summon. I play 1 copy of Crusadia. Avermax. I feel like this card, everybody's sleeping on this card. It's really, really good. It just takes 2 monsters that are special summoned from the extra deck into link 4. Basically, you can't attack it one time because it's going to gain the attack points, and it's just really good. Boral Load because you can take monsters from your opponent. Boral Sword to OTK our opponent. It's really easy to go into Boral Sword as well in this game, in this deck. It's really easy to link summon in this deck. 1 copy of Unicorn because you want to pop stuff on your opponent's side of the field, or bounce stuff. Phoenix to pop spells and traps. Cerberus to pop monsters. Wewitch because just about everything is dark except for like Junk Ford is not dark. But it's nice to have that extra 500 boost because you can actually get a lot of boosts on your side of the field. If you get a Wewitch out and you have like the sword, you're already gaining 1300. Plus, if you have a wing set as well, you can go all the way up to 1800 boost on the Rusty and make it go to 2900 or 3900, which is just humongous. 1 copy of Cherubini because it sends level 3 monsters from our deck to the graveyard and it just requires level 3. Like Phantom Knights and like Burning Abyss are like this. You have to have both of them in the same deck at all times. Even if it's just a pseudo, like it's just a extra deck monster. 1 Dark Rebellion for the effect of our Break Sword. 2 copies of Break Sword because Break Sword is the best sword. We always need to use a broken sword in battle. And Break Sword's really good because you can detach a material and it Scrap Dragons. You pop a card on your side of the field and pop a card on your opponent's side of the field. Dante because you can mill stuff off the top of your deck and all of your Phantom Knights have graveyard effects. And then 1 Leviair just to grab your banished Phantom Knights back from the banished pile and special summon them, which is really cool to be able to do. Like if you can use the Ancient Cloak and this, you can get Ancient Cloak back and then switch it to defense position to boost up your Rusty. So like that's the big thing about this deck is you want to boost up your Rusty that as big as possible, or summon Avermax, Boral Load, or Boral Sword to be able to stop your opponent. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this one. It's a really, really fun deck. I really recommend that you guys give it a try. You can probably just get those legendary hero decks, and you could probably build this deck really, really, really cheap. For the majority of the stuff, it actually comes in there. And if there's not some of the stuff, this deck is really a utility deck. You can take out the Junk Forwards if you don't want to play Junk Forwards. You can mess around with the hand traps, whatever you want to do. But the deck is pretty easy to play around. As long as you're playing the basic Phantom Knight core and you're playing a bunch of warrior monsters, it's okay. Another quick thing that you can do before I end the deck profile is you can play a Zold in the deck. I did not play a Zold in this build because I wanted to have more hand traps and I couldn't find the room besides dropping my Junk Forwards, and then it would drop my monster count too low in my opinion, and I wanted to play those Junk Forwards, so I didn't play a Zold, but you can definitely play a Zold if you want to, just by playing 4 equipped spells in the deck, even 3. You could probably get away with 3 in this deck because everything's level 3. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. Hit that bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.